Good morning, everybody. I'm Amitabh Chanchal, PGT Geography from Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Faror, Fatehgarh Sahib, Punjab. Today, I'm going to talk about human settlement, classification of settlement, rural and urban, type of rural and urban settlement, morphology of city, distribution of megacity, problem of urban settlement in developing countries. What is human settlement? A human settlement is defined as a place inhabited more or less permanently. The house may be designed or redesigned. Building may be altered, function may change, but settlement continue in time and space. There may be some settlement which are temporary and are occupied for short periods, maybe a season. We all live in cluster of houses. We may call it a village, a town, or a city. All are examples of human settlement. Now, classification of settlement, that is rural and urban. It is widely accepted that settlement can be differentiated in terms of rural and urban, but there is no consensus on what exactly defines a village or a town. Although population size is an important criteria, it is not a universal criteria, since many villages in densely populated countries of India and China have population exceeding that of some towns of Western Europe and United States. At one time, people living in a village pursued agriculture or other primary activities, but presently in developed countries, large section of urban population prefer to live in villages even though they work in the city. The basic difference between town and village is that in town the main occupation of the people is related to secondary and tertiary sector, while in the villages most of the people are engaged in primary occupations such as agriculture, fishing, lumbering, mining, animal husbandry, etc. Now, suburbanization. It is a new trend of people moving away from congested urban area to a cleaner area outside the city in search of a better quality of living. Important suburbs develop around major cities, and every day thousands of people commute from their home in the suburb to their workplace in the city. Now, Census of India. The Census of India 1991 defines urban settlement as all places which have municipality, corporation, cantonment board, or notified town area committee and have a minimum population of 5,000 persons. At least 75% of the male workers are engaged in non-agriculture pursuits and a density of population of at least 400 persons per square kilometer are urban. Now, type and patterns of settlement. Compact or nucleated settlement, dispersed settlement. Now, see, compact or nucleated settlement. These settlements are those in which large number of houses are built very close to each other. Such settlements develop along river valleys and in fertile plain. Communities are closely knit and share common occupations, that is agriculture. Now, dispersed settlement. In these settlements, houses are spaced far apart and often interspersed with fields. A culture feature such as a place of worship or a market binds the settlement together. Now, rural settlement. A rural settlement are mostly closely and directly related to land. They are dominated by primary activities such as agriculture, animal husbandry, fishing, etc. The settlement size is relatively small. Now, factor affecting the location of rural settlement, that is water supply. You see, usually rural settlements are located near water bodies such as river, lake and spring. Sometimes the need of water drives people to settle in otherwise disadvantaged sites such as islands surrounded by swamps or low-lying river banks. Most of the water-based wet point settlements have many advantages such as water for drinking, cooking and washing. River and lake can be used to irrigate farmland. Water bodies also have fish which can be caught for diet, and navigable river and lake can be used for transportation. Now, land. People choose to settle near fertile land suitable for agriculture. In Europe, villages grew near rolling country, avoiding swampy low-lying land, while people in Southeast Asia choose to live near low lying river valleys and coastal plains suited for wet rice cultivation. Early settlers chose plain area with fertile soil. Upland, upland which is not prone to flooding, was chosen to prevent damage to houses and loss of life. Thus, in low-lying river basin, people choose to settle on terrace and levees, which are dry points. In tropical countries, people build their houses on still near marshy land to protect themselves from flood, insect and animal pests. Building material. The availability of building material, wood, stone near settlement is another advantage. Early villages were built in the forest clearing where wood was plentiful. In lowest area of China, cave dwellings were important. African savanna building material were mud brick. The Eskimos in polar region use ice block to construct igloos. Defense. During the time of political instability, war, hostility of neighboring group, villages were built on defensive hill and islands. In Nigeria, upstanding Inselberg formed good defensive sites. In India, most of the forts are located on the higher ground or hills. Now, planned city. What a planned city? Sites that are not spontaneously chosen by planned settlements. Sites that are not spontaneously chosen by villagers themselves. Planned settlements are constructed by government by providing shelter, water, and other infrastructures on acquired land. The scheme of villagization in Ethiopia and the canal colonies in Indira Gandhi Canal Command area in India are some good examples. Now, rural settlement pattern. Pattern of rural settlement reflect the way the houses are sited in relation to each other. The site of the village, the surrounding topography and terrain, influence of shape and size of village. Rural settlement may be classified on the basis of number of criteria. Number 1, on the basis of setting, location. Number 2, on the basis of function. Number 3, on the basis of form, shape and settlement. On the basis of setting, the main type are plain villages, plateau villages, coastal villages, forest villages and desert villages. These are 4 diagrams you can see. Now, on the basis of functions, there may be farming villages, fishermen villages, lumberjack villages, pasture villages. Number 1 is the fisherman village and number 2 is the farming villages. Now, on the basis of form of shape of settlement, there may be a number of geometrical form and shape such as linear, rectangular, circular, T-shaped, double village, cross. Now, linear pattern. In such settlement, houses are located along a road. You can see one road is there, one road, this is a road, and settlement have developed along it, right? Then railway line, a river, canalage, and along a levees. Now, rectangular pattern. Such pattern of rural settlement are found in plain area or wide inner mountain valleys. The roads are rectangular and cut each other at 90 degrees. Circular pattern. Circular villages develop around a lake or tank. Sometimes the village is planned in such a way that the central part remains open and is used for keeping the animal to protect them from the wild animals. Star-like pattern. Star-like pattern where several roads converge. Star settlement developed by the houses built along the road. You see, here so many roads have been converging in the center and the settlement has developed around it. Now, T-shaped, Y-shaped. T-shaped settlement developed at tri-junction of road, while Y-shaped settlement emerge as the places where 2 roads converge. On the third one, and house and built along these roads, cruciform settlement develop on the crossroad and houses extend in all 4 directions. Double village. These settlements extend on both sides of river where there is a bridge of it. You can see over here. In this, there is a bridge. Dover village. These settlements extend on both sides of river where there is a bridge or a ferry. Now, problem of rural settlement. Poor equipped with infrastructure, they represent a great challenge. Rural settlement in the developing countries. Supply of water to rural settlement is not adequate. Waterborne disease such as cholera and jaundice tend to be common problem. The general absence of toilet and garbages disposal facilities cause health-related problems. The house made up of mud, wood, and thatch remain susceptible to damage during heavy rain and flood. Unmetalled road and lack of modern communication network create a unique problem. During rainy season, the settlement remain cut off and pose serious difficulties in providing emergency services. Now, urban settlement. Rapid urban growth is the recent phenomena. Until recent time, new settlement reached the population size of more than a few thousand inhabitants. The first urban settlement to reach a population of 1 million was the city of London by around AD 1810. By 1982, approximately 175 cities in the world had crossed the 1 million population mark. Presently, 54% of the world population live in urban settlements, compared to only 3% in the year 1800. You can see from this data, it is very much clear. Now, classification of urban settlement. Classification of urban settlement. See, the definition of urban area varies from one country to another. Some of the common bases of classification are size of population, occupational structure, administrative setup. Now, population size. It is an important criteria used by most countries to define urban areas. The lower limit of the population size for the settlement to be designated as urban is 1500 in Colombia, 2000 in Argentina and Portugal, 2500 in USA and Thailand, 5000 in India and 30,000 in Japan. Besides the size of population, density of 400% per square kilometer and share of non-agriculture worker are taken into consideration in India. Countries with low density of population may choose a lower number as cut-off figure compared to densely populated countries. In Denmark, Sweden and Finland, all places with the population size of 250% are called urban. The minimum population for a city is 300 in Iceland, whereas in Canada and Venezuela it is 1000%. Now, occupational structure. In some countries such as India, the major economic activity in addition to the size of population in designating a settlement as urban are also taken as criteria. Similarly, in Italy, a settlement is called urban if more than 50% of its economically productive population is engaged in non-agriculture pursuits. India has set its criteria at 75%. Administration. The administrative setup is a criteria for classifying a settlement as urban in most countries. For example, in India, the settlement of any size is classified as urban if it has a municipality, cantonment board, or notified area council. Similarly, in Latin America countries such as Brazil and Bolivia, any administrative center is considered urban irrespective of its population size. Now, location. Location of urban settlement is examined with reference to their functions. For example, the setting requirement of holidays resort are quite different from that of an industrial town, a military center, or a seaport. A strategic town requires site offering natural defense. Mining town requires the presence of economically valuable mineral. Industrial towns generally need local energy supply or raw material. Tourist town requires attractive scenery or a marine beach, a spring with medicinal water, or historical realized port require a harbor, etc. Location of earliest urban settlement were based on the availability of water, building material, and fertile land. Today, while these considerations still remain valid, modern technology plays a significant role in locating urban settlement far away from the source of these materials. Piped water can be supplied to a distinct settlement. Building material can be transported from long distances apart from site. The situation plays an important role in the expansion of town urban center, which are located close to an important trade route and have experienced rapid development. Now, what are the functions of urban centers? On the basis of the functions, the urban settlements are classified into following. Number 1, administrative town. Number 2, trading and commerce town. Number 3, culture town. Now, what is administrative town? National capitals which house the administrative offices of central government such as New Delhi, Canberra, Beijing, Addis Ababa, Washington DC, and London, etc. are called administrative town. Provincial town can also have administrative function, for example, Victoria, British Columbia, Albany, New York, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Trading and commercial town. Agriculture market towns such as Winnipeg and Kansas. Banking and financial centers like Frankfurt and Amsterdam. Large inland centers like Manchester and St. Louis. Transport nodes such as Lahore, Baghdad, Agra have important trading center. Cultural town. Places of pilgrimage such as Jerusalem, Makkah, Jagannath Puri and Varanasi, etc. are considered as cultural town. These urban centers are of great religious importance. Additional functions which the cities perform are health and recreation, Miami and Panaji. Industrial, Pittsburgh and Jamshedpur. Mining and quarrying, Broken Hill and Dhanbad. And transport, Singapore and Mughal Sarai. Next slide. Sorry for interruption. Now, classification of town on the basis of form. An urban settlement may be linear, square, star, or crescent shaped. In fact, the form of settlement, architecture and style, building and other structure are outcome of its historical and cultural tradition. Town and cities have developed and developing countries reflect marked differences in planning and development. While most cities in advanced or developed countries are planned, most urban settlements of developing countries have evolved historically with irregular shape. For example, Chandigarh and Canberra are planned cities, while smaller towns in India have evolved historically from walled city to a large urban sprawl. Now, morphology of Addis Ababa. The name Ethiopia capital, that is Addis Ababa. As the name suggests, indicate Addis means new, Ababa means flower. It is a new city which was established in 1878. The whole city is located on a hill valley topography The road pattern bears the influence of local topography. The road radiates from the government headquarters plaza, Arat and MS Kilo roundabout. Maracaibo has market which grew with the time and is supposed to be the largest market between Cairo and Johannesburg. A multi-facility university, a medical college, a number of good schools make Addis Ababa an educational center. It is also a terminal station for the Djibouti Addis Ababa Railroad. Bole Airport is a relatively new airport. The city has witnessed rapid growth because of its multifunctional nature and being a largest nodal center located in the center of Ethiopia. Now, Canberra, case study. Canberra was planned as the capital of Australia in 1912 by American landscape architect Walter Burley Gaffin. He had envisaged a green city for about 25,000 people, taking into account the natural feature of the landscape. There were 2 to 5 main centers served with separate city functions. During the last few decades, the city has expanded to accommodate several satellite towns, which have their own center. The city has wide open spaces and many parks and gardens. Now, type of urban settlement. Depending on the size and the services available, function rendered, urban settlements are designated as town, city, million city, conurbation, and megalopolis. Town. The concept of town can best be understood with reference to village. Population size is not the only criteria. Functional contrast between the town and village may not always be clear-cut, but specific functions such as manufacturing, retail, and wholesale trade and professional services exist in town. City. A city may be regarded as leading town which has outstripped its local and regional rivals. In the world of Lewis Mumford, the city is in fact the physical form of the highest and the most complex type of associated life. Cities are much larger than town and have a greater number of economic functions. They tend to have transport terminals, major financial institutions, and regional administrative offices. When the population crosses 1 million mark, it is designated as million city. Conurbation. The term conurbation was coined by Patrick Geddes in 1915 and applied to large area of urban development that result from the merging of original separated town or cities. Greater London, Manchester, Chicago, and Tokyo and NCERT are the example. Million city. The number of million cities in the world has been increasing as never before. London reached the million mark in 1800, followed by Paris in 1850, New York in 1860, and by 1950 there were around 80 such cities. There were 162 million cities in mid-70s, and there are threefold increase in 2005, and the number is to 438. In 2016, there were 512 cities with at least 1 million inhabitants globally. By 2030, a projected 662 cities will have at least 1 million residents. Now, megalopolis. This Greek word means great city, which popularized by Jane Gotham in 1957 and signifies super metropolitan region extending as union of conurbation. The urban landscape stretching from Boston in the north to south of Washington in USA is the best known example of megalopolis. Now, distribution of megacity. The megacity or megalopolis is a general term or cities together with their suburb, with the population for more than 10 million people. New York was the first to attain the status of megacity by 1950. With a total population of about 12.5 million, the number of megacity is now 31. The number of megacity has increased in the developing countries during the last 50 years vis-a-vis the developed countries. Now you can have a look on these megacities and their population in 2016. Now, problems of human settlement in developing countries. The settlement in developing countries suffer from various problems such as unsustainable concentration of population, congested housing and street, lack of drinking water facilities. They also lack infrastructure such as electricity, sewage disposal, health and educational facilities. Now, problem of urban settlements. Since most cities in developing countries are unplanned, it creates severe congestion. Shortage of housing, vertical expansion, and growth of slums are characteristic feature of modern cities of developing countries. Even in Asia Pacific countries, around 60% of the urban population lives in squatter settlements. Problem of urban settlement: economic problem, socio-economic problem, and environmental problem. Number one, economic problems are decreasing employment opportunities, socio-cultural problem, social crimes, selective male migration, disbalance in sex ratio. Environmental problem, improper sewage system, air pollution, lack of clean drinking water. So all these were the things which we studied in the human settlement. Thank you and have a nice day.